What is going on, everybody? It is lunchtime. Lunch with the Clydesdale. I know the champ is still over on Savon, so this will probably be a nice intimate setting for us today. What's going on, Lita? What's going on, Meredith? Good to see you guys. What's up, Corey? Yeah. Got back late last night, about 9 o'clock last night. Woke up yesterday morning, got all packed up, met with Hattie one last time to get kind of some final touches on her story. We sat down, recorded that, then hopped in my car and drove what ended up being a 10-hour trip back from Albany last night. Got to Buffalo, got in a traffic jam, and it slowed me way down. Man, I was so tired at that point. Thank God for some C4. And then once I hit like the PA border, like I was alert again and taking off and just flying home. So podcast, the Glint things kept me going late last night. Listening to all the content I could on my drive to kind of keep up with everything. And of course, trying to catch up with my Chicago Bears because I watched nothing Chicago Bears while I was gone. So, but I did have a ton of time to think while I was in the car. And I've got like 3 main topics that are going to fill this week. And I have like a monologue for each of these 3 topics. So just to give you a quick preview as to what that looks like is today we're going to talk about the what ifs. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about why you can't kill CrossFit. Or Thursday, depending on what Corey and I get into tomorrow. And then either Thursday or Friday, people that say Dave doesn't know what he's doing that's just a dumb statement. So those are kind of the headlines of the monologues I have in my head from my thought process back from Albany. And I got to tell you, the vibes were freaking amazing. I know we said it on the show Sunday night, and a lot of people were putting down that the attendance was low. I think we also have to remember it was the biggest arena we've ever been in. So there's going to be empty seats, right? You're in the largest venue you've ever been in. There's going to be some empty seats, but the vibes were awesome. And the community was awesome. Tristan, you may have inspired the last one. You may have inspired the last one a little bit. Jose, it was loud. It really was. And Jose, I need to talk to you. In my final interview with Hattie, she actually talks about pictures you took of her. And I need to make sure we have all those in the documentary so that we can pull them up as like show and tell for what she's talking about. Tristan says that's okay. I could dive deeper into what I meant as well. Yeah. Yeah. Of course, everything I'm saying is a teaser tagline, so you come hear more. But got back late last night. Got up this morning, had a cardiology appointment. As most of you have known who have been with the channel for a while, I have been in AFib twice over the last 18 months. Met with my cardiologist today, had an EKG done. Everything is great. We actually got, like, this is our first good report from the cardiologist post everything that's happened. And so I've been cleared to up intensity. I've been cleared to let my heart rate get up a little bit higher during workouts. And everything looks good to the point where I don't have a follow-up for a year. So that is really, really good news. Just got back from there a little bit ago. Really excited to hear that. The only thing I have is some stuff to check to make sure the medicine I'm taking isn't hurting my kidneys. So I've got to get a blood test in 6 months, finding that out, and then we move on from there. So really, really excited about all that, and I can get back to full workouts. That's going to be exciting. The other thing on my trip home is I had a lot of self-reflection. So this is the first year I had enhanced access. You guys all know that story. Didn't have it, got it, was amazed I got it. It was really cool to be able to do some different things, but it made me really self-reflect on what I want to be as a media company. And I was trying to do everything at the games this year. I was trying to be backstage with Hattie and Tristan and talk to them. I was trying to be back there to get interviews in the back area. And finally on Sunday, I said, I've done all I can. I'm going to go enjoy the last couple events in the arena. And I did that. And in the process, that's when I ran into Saxon Panchek, had an awesome conversation with him. I ran into Heather Lawrence, the director of, she's the boss for everything outside the ropes at the games. Had a great conversation with her, met a lot of great fans. But my biggest regret was I didn't get to meet people like Jody Lynn, who's been a follower of the show for a long time, big supporter, love her to death, and wanted to meet her so bad. And a lot of other people like that. I got to meet a lot of fans on Sunday. I need to take the time to do that. I need to focus on like one or two things out there and focus on those. And the rest of the time, enjoy the time with the community and what's going on. And I need to stop pushing myself so hard and just do what I need to do in those moments. And I'm thinking I'm going to make that change going into the Masters CrossFit Games. Rather than try to do this big, epic, behind the scenes like we did last year, that was 11 episodes, I want to enjoy the people that I get to see there. I want to be able to shake hands, give hugs, talk to people. I still want to do a behind the scenes, but I don't think it's going to be as big and as epic as we did last year. I think it's going to be more refined and touching on the highlights, because the fact of the matter is I have a lot of friends there, Denise and Rudy Berger and Carolyn and Jamie, all competing. I want to be able to see them compete. I want to be able to root them on. I want to be able to capture their reactions to everything. Shanna, I get to see her. All those people that I didn't get the chance at the Elite Games to do that with, I want to be able to do that when we're at the Masters CrossFit Games. Jody Lynn, yes, I'm sorry we didn't meet. Believe me, I had my binoculars and didn't see you once. I know. I really was not even in the arena at all on day 2. Day 1, I was there a little bit. Day 3, I was there a lot. Day 2, I really was in the back area the entire day. And I need to stop doing that. And it goes back to kind of this thing. Like Corey says, Scott, did you eat? I get so focused on things that I do forget to eat. And I think there's more to it than just forgetting to eat. My stomach gets upset when I'm on the road. Nothing sounds good. And I'm just not as hungry on the road, but I did eat this time. I made sure that the day was over by 5 or 6 o'clock, and I could go get a decent dinner before the show at 8 o'clock. So that was good. But anyway, those are just my thoughts. I had protein bars with me too. I had some dried mango. I had water with me every day. So I did much better than I usually do, for sure. But I think that's what, just sharing with you that I think I just need to change. I need to stop thinking about quantity and start thinking about quality. Because most of the time, like this year, I was pretty much a one-man crew with Jose and Ishmael doing some work for me in the pits. But I need to have conversations with people. And I didn't get to do that with a lot of the people that I've gotten to know over the years. I mean, it wasn't until late Sunday I got to say anything to Hiller at all, and thank him for the push he's given us over the last few weeks. So that's my self-reflection. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I do have a couple fun things to share. You know, Jason Hopper won the games. I just wanted to share this old thing I found. This was when I was with the Morning Chalk Up. Kat and I were with the Morning Chalk Up, and we were hosting the Bottom Line, and we interviewed Jason at the West Coast Classic. This is right after he made his first games at the MAC. We were catching up with him, learning about him and his wife, doing an introductory interview. And yeah. The kind you like?
Yeah. So I like to run my own race. That's kind of been the whole like motto through this, is like, hey, don't worry about anybody else. So yeah, there's a lot, and some workouts it's not. It's, you know, based off feel. I mean, ride the way, see what happens, and then sometimes it's like, okay, you need to like put this on.
So I found this. I thought it was pretty funny. Corey says he looks like a baby. He does. He was so young then. This was 5 years ago when we got to meet him. And he was doing the tour with Matt Frazier and Matt O'Keefe. And we grabbed him and took him upstairs, did this interview during the West Coast Classic. And it was a lot of fun. Him and Grace Ann was funny back then. She was awesome. Love when she goes on Girls Interrupted. And it was good to see him win. I know that I've given him a hard time saying that every time I bet on him, he lets me down. But it was awesome seeing him win this year. And I think with everything he's doing from a personal marketing standpoint, he's going to be a great champion. The other thing I wanted to share with you is my designer has come up with a shirt logo. I'll throw it out to you guys. This is a first draft. I think she did amazing. I don't really see any corrections that I would make to it, but I'm going to show you what the Get Jazzed t-shirt would look like, the logo, and tell me what you think. Here we go. So, any thoughts? Whoops, man, sensitive. Just wanted to get your thoughts. Clydesdale Media, Get Jazzed. We got the Clydesdale playing the saxophone with a fedora and cool, pretty funky lettering going around with the musical notes. Scott Judy gave me your jazz sticker. It's on my water bottle. Awesome. Yeah, I gave her a couple. Alito, love it, Scott. Thank you. If everybody likes it, amazing. Imagine if the games went to New Orleans. Yeah. We complained about Fort Worth. Man, the humidity in New Orleans would be insane. I'd rather it on the back with a smaller Clydesdale logo on the front, but that's just me. I'm buying one regardless. Yeah, she just mocked it up on a shirt. It doesn't mean it's going to be on the front. It could be on the back. If you do the small logo on the front and the one on the back, then you have to pay for the double-sided shirt. But Corey says, I live in New Orleans. That's a terrible idea. Lito, gray is not the only option. It's just the mock-up. This is honestly her first draft. First thing she sent back to me. And I love it. I would probably do it in the show colors. We'd probably have a yellow option, a blue option. And then because it's white and black, we'd have to go something else to get there. But we'd probably have a couple different color options. Absolutely jazzed for this top. I agree with Corey. Have the larger logo on the back. Second Corey's idea, if that's possible. Yeah, Corey, I've been there in the summer. It's awful. Mark Phillips, yep, pocket logo, big on back and sleeve flag. Something if cost makes sense. Corey, we have 4 seasons, Andrew. Almost summer, still summer, and Christmas. Yeah, that's what it was when I lived in Tallahassee, Florida, too. So, well, cool. Well, I love the logo, and if you guys think the logo itself is good, then we'll come up with a t-shirt design, and we'll do a pre-order for it. And what I'm hoping to do is have at least a stock of them made for the Masters CrossFit Games. So if you're coming to the Masters Games, you can just pick it up there. If you're not, then we'll ship them out after that. But that's probably do like a pre-order, see how long it's going to take, and have them ready for the Masters CrossFit Games. So cool. All right. Before I get into my first monologue of the week, I've gotten a lot of comments about the spirit of the games and what we talked about on Sunday night. And that people brought up that Lydia Fish should have won the spirit of the games. And I just want to reiterate my thoughts. Again, I'm not a fan of the spirit of the games only because it has not been defined as to what it actually is. But if I were to define it in my head, it would be a person that has done something for the CrossFit community as a whole to push it forward. And why Colton is a good choice is because he is someone that has had to overcome a lot to get to where he is. He works a full-time job. He is short in stature. He has had to improve different things every year to get better and better and better. And that's what every CrossFitter is trying to do. They are trying to take the skills they have, the abilities they have, and get better and better and better. And all of that does not take place in 1 year. It takes place over time. You have to build a following. You have to build a reputation for doing what you do. And that is why I believe that people like Colton Mertens or people like Fisa Gaffi would be more deserving of Spirit of the Games than someone like Lydia Fish. Lydia Fish is awesome. She is, as we've talked about it, she is tiny. What she does on the floor is amazing. She just hasn't had enough time to establish herself as one of those people to move the community forward. It just is going to take some time. And I think Lydia Fish is going to have plenty of awards in her future. He has an autoimmune disease or something too. He does. He also lost a family member, I think his mom, during the season. How about Lucy and her determination to get back to the games? Again, Lucy's only been to the games twice. I think that in the future, she could be considered as a Spirit of the Games. But I think this is Colton's fourth time to the games. And each time he's gotten a better finish, a better finish, a better finish, and a better finish. And he keeps overcoming all these obstacles to do that. That's where it is a more established pattern moving forward. If they had a comeback player of the year, that is Lucy Campbell's hands down. But I think she'll take the silver medal instead, because that's probably pretty damn important. She was the fittest mortal on the field. Lido makes a great point. Not only that, but also the spirit of the competition in that he doesn't complain even when things don't go his way, like the rope malfunction, the pegboard gate, etc. Lido, I don't think they consider podium finishers for the Spirit of the Games award, though. I can say that they have given a podium finisher the Spirit of the Games before, but that is one of the biggest disagreements I've had in the history of the award. And that is when they gave it to Roman the year he broke his foot. Same for most improved. Listen, what Tudor has improved on is more than just placement on the leaderboard. It is his overall mindset. He has done so much to improve that. I have no idea how he kept himself composed when his rope broke. I don't either. But that's why I don't have most improved is a thing. It's usually just placement on the leaderboard. They did not hand it out last year that I know of. The year before, Alex Kazan won it when she went from 25th the year before to 5th that year. It's kind of like that thing. Tudor Magda won it this year. And he has improved tremendously. To finish top 10 was awesome for him. So, yeah, so that is, I've had a couple comments about that. Love Lydia Fish. It's just not her time yet. Just not her time. She may establish herself as one of those people, and that would be awesome. Because I think the trophy would be bigger than her. So, now on to my what ifs. This is a thing that probably bugs me more than anything in CrossFit and sports in general. You watch a football game, there's a flag thrown, you don't think it should have been thrown, it cost you your team the game, What if that ref didn't do that? They'd won. It happens so much. This whole like thing about Hopper only won because the pegboards were slippery is crap. In sports, you're going to have to face things that you don't know you're going to have to face. And it may not be an intended difficulty like the pegboard thing, like you used chalk and you shouldn't have, like you spat on your shoe and you shouldn't have, whatever that may be. Those things happen in sports all the time. You have to overcome them. And just because this happened to Ricky or happened to Dallin and Jason won the event, that should not discredit the fact that he went through the same gauntlet of stuff and came out on top. Every year, we're going to have a lane that's slower, a lane that's faster, a lane with a bad judge, a lane with something. It's going to be in every games. You have to overcome those. It's just the way sports works out. If you're a Cincinnati Bengals fan, you have to overcome that you have a bad defense. I'm sorry. I got off track there. There are flags thrown in sports, in football. There are calls made in hockey. There are outs called in baseball that everybody disagrees with. Somebody trips and falls. Somebody slips and slides. Something is going to happen. People will always give stupid reasons for why someone won. Matt won because Rich wasn't there anymore. James won because of people withdrawing. I know, and it's getting more prevalent in CrossFit that we're discrediting the champion. Okay. Justin won, and Justin won because he shouldn't have won because he didn't win events. Jeff won because Roman broke his foot. James won because people weren't there. Now Jason wins because the pegboards were slippery. We got to stop all this. They went through the week. They ended up winning. They are the person defined as the fittest on earth. I think this is more evident because Hopper didn't win by 100 points. It was so close, so these small issues seem to have more weight. I think you're right, Shanna. I think that Matt spoiled us by winning by 100, 200 points. But with this field, the next few years are going to be determined by the little things. So we better buckle up and strap in because that's the way it's going to be. You're going to have to be on 100% of the time or you're going to lose. Lito says, okay, but what about playing devil's advocate here? He only won because of our choice of scoring system. Ricky wins in P scoring and James comes in fourth. Okay, Lito, have we ever used P scoring as scoring an event in CrossFit? No. So that is a hypothetical that has never, ever existed. Never existed. Bringing that what if in is insanity. This is the way scoring has been forever. It is game scoring. It is called game scoring, and it's been there for a long time. The little things always mean something. Die for points, as Madera says. Yeah, every placement matters. And isn't that what makes it fun? Seeing people leap feet first over the landing area to get their chip timer over before anybody else was fun all weekend. because every placement matters. Jason didn't win because something happened to somebody else. He made it through the weekend and he scored the most points. At the end of the day, one team or one person scores more points than the other, and they are determined the champion. And that's what happened. Sarah Cooper, FP score. If there becomes a competition or a series of competitions that use P score or Z score or whatever that is, then that becomes the scoring of choice. Then we can talk about those types of things. But right now, the only competition that I know of that uses those is Crash. So, Lito, when you come to the CrossFit Games to play the Masters CrossFit Games, you're going to be scored on game scoring. Lito, Medeiros jumping to the finish line on running Isabel, which we didn't see, by the way, literally cost James second place. It was actually, he jumped to the finish line on the rope climb thruster event. Medeiros passed everybody on the walking lunge, and then he jump slid in across the line 1/10 of a second ahead of James, and that cost James second place. Yep. Every point counts. Every point counts because James was in third by 1 point. And James, of all people, knows. James, what was it, 3 years ago at Syndicate Crown, had an 81-point lead to get into the CrossFit Games and ended up losing that by 1 point on the final event. Will Morad beat him by 82 points on the final event and got his ticket to the CrossFit Games. James Sprague knows all too well about those 1 points. And that's why you see him slide feet first so many times into the finish zone. There were 2 events where Justin lost a place by a millisecond. Wonder where he would have ended up had he had a higher placement in those 2 events. Well, Justin won the last event. So which 2 events would that have been, Meredith? Ricky Mack blaming the pegboards for second place when he took 23rd on the back squat and said out loud that he hates squatting is wild. What was the final point difference? It couldn't have been much. I'm looking it up here. So Ricky ended up losing by 14 points. There's what, a 3 points, 5 spots. Ricky would have had to make up 5 spots. And to be clear, I like Ricky. I like Ricky too, but like, you can't come out on the podium and complain that because he could have made up those points on other events. I'm surprised he didn't beat Jeff Adler in the first event. Like, you can make up those places all over the leaderboard. It doesn't have to be on one event here or there. Maybe look at the what ifs in the mirror. Lito says, I'm not trying to change the scoring system or anything. I was just being philosophical about it. The scoring system is, after all, a construction, And changing that can change everything. It can. In the end, what ifs are fun, but that's all they are. The winner's the winner. I think that's my biggest point. We can what if this all we want, and it is fun to speculate. If this would have happened, this would have happened. But as a competitor, to blame the what ifs for why you didn't win, I am sure that Jason Hopper would say, if I didn't drop the barbell at the end of event 9 and lose those 4 spots, the pegboard would have been irrelevant. Everybody has a what if in their bag from the weekend. And when you stack them all on top of each other, at the end of the day, you probably get to the same solution or the same answer. Mark Phillips, what ifs are for the fans? They are. But the problem is they're creeping into the competitors. We have Ricky doing the what ifs. We had Roman doing the what ifs a couple years ago. We had everybody doing the what ifs to James. I mean, the happiest person I'm for after this weekend is James Sprague. To go from winning the games to a podium finish was awesome. Throw in a little Wadapalooza win in the middle there. He's had a pretty damn good year and hopefully established himself as one of the elite athletes in the sport. And people can stop what-ifing his win because he earned it. He did what he was meant to do, and he came out the victor. Sprague validated his win last year. I agree. Mark, he erased his asterisks in my mind. Hopper failing his last snatch twice may have been the most exciting thing of the weekend. Not going to lie. The arena was on its feet when that was happening. But 4 people passed him when he did that. So he has his own what if. Right? A lot of people owe James Sprague an apology. Doug, if Sprague had an asterisk on his win, then Frazier would have to have one on his last win. 5 people is not enough to test the fittest. Let's not put asterisks on anybody. I think asterisks are just as bad as what ifs. Now, can an analyst look at 2020 and what happened there, bump it as not as big of a win as other years? I think that can happen. 2019 and all the cuts, I think, make that top 10 seem a little sketchy in my mind as I'm analyzing like the greatest of all time. But I think Matt Frazier had a row of success going into that 2020 season that removed all asterisks. It was just the culmination of a career. And he did win by almost doubling everybody's score. The last thing I'm just going to talk about is what I find funny is as you're watching the weekend go on, everybody was watching Tia going, man, she's not dominating like she used to. She's not dominating like she used to. And then at the end of the weekend, she was 200 points better than anybody else. And I think what's crazy is she was people were pushing Tia all weekend long, but every event was a different person pushing Tia. Danielle pushed her on this event. Lucy pushed her on this event. Olivia pushed her on this event, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's not one athlete that can push Tia on everything. So at the end of the weekend, she's killing it. But as you're watching it, you're going, man, there are people really close to Tia on this event. There are people really close to Tia on this event. So it's funny because it's like the field has caught up to her on one event here, one event there, but it's all different people. She dominated but looked mortal somehow. Exactly. I think the Lucy thing looked crazy because Tia failed a handstand walk, and we just don't see that very often. Lucy pushed the pace on that event specifically. Tia tried to keep up and failed a rep, and we just don't ever see that happen. But at the end of the day, Tia still took third in that event. So the event that someone went head to head with her, she got 94 points. You know, Olivia went toe to toe with her on the last event, but Tia took what, second? Third. Tia took third. Crazy. So, yeah. The stadium erupted. It was crazy. Historically, compared to the great handstand walkers on the women's side, Tia hasn't been fantastic. Lucky for her, it's one event. Yeah, lucky for her, she had to figure out that third place finish. I mean, other than the pegboard event, her lowest finish was fourth. There's no middling going on there. She ain't retiring either. I mean, in the past, she'd say it and then walk it back. This year, she didn't even say it. As she said in that road to the games, nothing feels like that fire. And it's too hard to retire. Nine 902 points out of a possible 1,000 is crazy town banana pants. It is. It is. There's no one like her. What did we say on Sunday Night CrossFit Talk a couple weeks ago? Tia will never retire, and she will win 10 championships. I think that is definitely in the cards. Fiona, I love Tia 1. I didn't get her not figuring out the pegboard, though. What was up with those with the legless? The fact that she could just do them legless shows you what an incredible athlete she is. I think that was more impressive than her figuring it out to win. And still finished middle of the pack, going strict legless. She's going for High Rocks CrossFit Slam. I don't think she is. I don't think High Rocks gave her the feeling that CrossFit does. And I think I heard her say somewhere on something that only giving herself 4 weeks to ramp up for the games, she will never do again. The only way she retires is if she gets pregnant again. But even then, I bet she could have another kid, then come back and still win it. The way she talked about the other comp, it did in her interview suggests otherwise. I don't know which direction you're agreeing with there, Corey, but okay. I loved that she, a lot of people said the vibe was so cool at the games because everybody there wanted to be there. And I felt that. I felt that a lot. That everybody that was there wanted to be there. And Tia's speech at the end kind of emphasizing that a little bit more, that people really wanted to be there, and thanked the games team and Dave for putting it on. I thought that was pretty epic of her to do. Because Tia really in her past has not taken a side in most things. And I think she was definitely taking a side at the end of the CrossFit Games. And I think there's an excitement because I do think the sale is final. I do think that they've already been given some direction as to where that's going to go, because we have open dates earlier than we've ever had them. I heard that the venue for next year is almost a done deal for the CrossFit Games. The new merch is freaking amazing. The vibes are amazing. If we can catch this wave and really focus on what's important in the CrossFit space, I think this can move forward in a way where we all see a great amount of benefit. That was a class act. So mad Mike A cut her off. She was about to elaborate on her statement. She took a side, and I was happy to hear it because it's a side of CrossFit. I love Tia's speech at the end too, and I love that she thanked Dave and CrossFit. She will be back. She put credit where credit is due. You missed the open dates? Fiona, so I so agree with you. Everything was amazing this year. You said it first, Scott. It's almost as if competition with the WFP is a good thing. I have way more to say about the WFP after being around the athletes this weekend. I just have to organize kind of my thoughts. And it actually goes around the next monologue I want to do, which is why CrossFit can't be killed. And I do think the competition has been good. I do think it's pushed them to tidy up the ship. It may be what they needed, a good little kick in the pants. Do I think they'll ever admit that that's what did it? Probably not. But I do think it's what they needed. CrossFit turned the corner. This was a year of shedding dead weight. I'm glad Corey found them. February 26th, the Open begins. So we end the season. We have a new champion on the men's side. And I think it is possible that we don't have another repeat champion for the next 5 years because of just what we've talked about. It is so close. Every point matters. It's going to be crazy the next 5 years. WFP is shaking in their boots, wishing they took that meeting with Dave. WFP popped out a 1-hour video. Thoughts? So I heard, and I have not seen, that they put out 2 videos while I was at the games. If they put out after, if that's when you choose to put out your videos is during the CrossFit Games, when literally I'm the biggest Bears fan in the world, I shut off my Bears feed for the weekend to focus on what I'm doing at the CrossFit Games. I'm not watching anybody else's stuff. I'm watching the CrossFit Games. I'm watching the recap shows. I'm watching the preview shows. I'm watching the action on the floor. I'm not watching other people's videos. That's when you decide to put it out. You had 4 months of nothing where you could have been putting out content left and right, pumping up your athletes, doing all that stuff. And I don't need to go through that all again. And then you wait until people start pointing that out to you to put out 2 videos during the biggest event in CrossFit during the season, when nobody's going to watch that shit. Nobody. Are you kidding me? I'm telling you, the more I hear, the less I am excited about what WFP has got going on. I wanted to believe they could show us what a streamlined season looked like. I wanted to believe that they had the best interests at heart. And I just don't think they do anymore. I'm losing faith by the second. And they're doing nothing to pull me back in. It's almost like every second matters. It'd be a good name for a documentary. Yeah, I think someone's already done it. But with that, guys, I have the rest of the day off. I'm going to be back to work tomorrow, and we'll do some lunch hours the rest of the week. I'll be here with Corey tomorrow, then here Thursday and Friday, and we'll get this thing all revved up again. What about them putting out posts about Hopper and Lucy Campbell and not even acknowledging their finishes at the games? I don't even think that deserves an answer. Very intended the release of WFP videos be absent. It has CrossFit athletes in it. And you're right. I didn't watch it. I actually intentionally didn't watch it. Right. Like, even if I'm interested in looking at it, which I will watch them and review them and do all the stuff I always do, I'm not doing it until the weekend's over. Because on my docket, I've got to get this other stuff done first. And Corey's jazzed about tomorrow's show. Yeah, me too. Can't wait to catch up, Core. And yeah, with that, guys, you knuckleheads get back to work. I'm going to go take the afternoon off. I'll see everybody tomorrow. Lunch with Clydesdale. Cajun Wednesday. Bye.